Hey guys, I know a lot of you watch my channel because you've got the itch and you're looking to make your next knife purchase, which I totally get because I'm also a knife guy. So I invite you to open the description of the video you're watching right now and click here on my Amazon store where I've compiled some of my very favorites. As you can see, my most recommended knives and my favorite budget knives are right at the top, but there's also categories like knife maintenance, pocket clips, knife storage and display, and then a whole bunch of knives by popular brands. There's something down here for everybody, so make sure you take a look. Thanks. What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash knife overview to do with you guys. A style of knife that I don't normally do, and that's a fixed blade. This is the Off-Grid Knives Alpha Dog in K110, Bowler K110 and G10. This is an absolute monster of a fixed blade. Not in terms of length, just in terms of the overall mass of this thing. It's awesome. I specifically reached out to Off-Grid Knives and requested this because I saw it on their list after Carrie from Off-Grid Knives sent me the Scorpion, I just had a really good experience with that. I said, hey, you've got some other stuff that I think is really cool, and he said, absolutely. So be sure to check them out on Instagram. Check out their website. I've actually got that information right here. You guys can check them out at Off-Grid Knives on Instagram, and then there's their website right there, offgridknives.com, and then the email address there. Carrie's an awesome person. We kind of see eye to eye on a lot of things, a lot of cool designs, and rest assured, I will include a link for this guy and the Scorpion that I just showed right down in the description if you guys want to pick that up for yourself. Anyways, so I don't normally do fixed blades, and here's why. I am a collector slash enthusiast slash knife user. I enjoy all aspects of the knife world. If you're somebody who's like, why would you collect knives? Why wouldn't you use every single? I do what I want. That's what I do. I don't really care. That's how most people think anyway. People are going to do what they want. So my experience with knives is based on what I do outside around my house and what I grew up doing, right? So every now and then I go out and I do projects. I add on to my house. My hands are no stranger to work, but I also work in an office during the middle of the week. So I EDC knives, I collect knives, I go out and use them sometimes, but this is not a knife that I have gone out and used in the bush, right? I didn't go out for 6 months and try to survive in the wilderness for this thing. So it depends on what you want from this review. I am going to go over materials, how it's ground, hypothetically what I think it's going to be good and bad at, but that's what this review is based on. And I understand the community that really enjoys fixed blades likes to, really know. I want visual evidence of this, this being the case. I can tell you what the materials probably can withstand, and based on the geometry of the knife, probably what it can withstand, but it's going to be an assumption. So anyways, with that in mind, let's go ahead and move on here. The overall length of the Alpha Dog coming in at 9.75 inches overall. The blade length is coming in at a little over 4.75. It's like 4.8 inches overall. And then your cutting edge coming down to the forward 12 is exactly 4.5 inches. So not a small knife. It's a little shorter than some people might carry for a fixed blade. It's also a lot bigger in a lot of ways that some people might carry for a fixed blade, but absolutely a full-size knife. Let's go ahead and put it up against some other folding knives, since that's what we normally do in this channel, up against the Ontario Rat Model 1. Rat 1 coming in at 8.6 inches overall, absolutely dwarfed. Up against the Spyderco PM2. Spyderco PM2 coming in at 8.3 inches overall. How about up against the Benchmade Reptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue. Ritter Hogue coming in at 8 inches overall. And last but not least, the Spyderco Para 3. Para 3 coming in at 7.25 inches overall. In fact, let's do another fixed blade. One that actually is also offered by Off-Grid Knives, since I've got it right here. This is the Off-Grid Tracker X, another interesting fixed blade, one that's got a shorter handle but a longer blade. I will also include a link for this guy. This guy's coming in at 9.25. Is that what it's coming in at? Yeah, a little bit more, 9.3, something like that. How about a more common fixed blade that some of you guys might be more familiar with? Here's the Moreknife Robust. Moreknife Robust coming in at 8 inches overall. So that's a very common fixed blade, and also one that's proven to be very durable. So I'm going to tell you guys, I think durability, in terms of durability, this is going to take the cake over a lot of knives, because what we're looking at is Bowler K110, which is essentially very premium D10. What does that mean? I don't know exactly what premium means over standard D2 and how it differs from CPM D2. From what I understand, from what I have read online, K110 is considered to be better by, I guess, how clean the composition is over standard D2. But CPM D2 is still a different beast because CPM D2 utilizes the powder technology and this doesn't. In any case, it seems to be widely accepted that Bowler K110 is better or premium D2. D2 is a steel that emphasizes toughness and edge retention and at the same time is almost stainless at about 12% chromium. So essentially what I'm saying is that this is a great steel for a fixed blade. If I was going to go out and really beat on my knife, from what I understand about what people are saying about K110 and from what I understand about the composition of D2 in my experience, both sharpening and using D2, right? Regular old D2 on this guy's doing just fine. So if this is better, then great. I think what's really going to emphasize its durability is the stock thickness here. Let's go ahead and get a measurement. These calipers are amazing, and they are also now available in my Amazon store that I referenced at the beginning of the video under knife maintenance if you want to check them out. Blade stock thickness, I think, is coming in at, yeah, it's like 1/5 of an inch, 190 thousandths. This is a thick knife. Let me check. I want to check my SOCOM real quick because I know that that's also just about the same thickness. This is a SOCOM Elite. Just want to make sure that we are getting an accurate, yeah. So it's about the same thickness as a SOCOM Elite, basically 1/5 of an inch. That is a lot of thickness, right? Now, he sent me an email explaining that, you know, when he was getting into knives, his favorite fixed blade was the Becker BK2, which I believe is about 1/4 of an inch thick, possibly a little bit thicker. I thought that this was 1/4 when I unboxed it. It's a little bit thinner than that, which is nice because considering how tall this blade is and how much material there is and how it's ground, which is actually flat and then it has a convex edge, meaning the edge is not hollow, it's the reverse. It actually sort of rounds out. That's going to emphasize toughness and durability of the edge while you're cut. This is not a knife that is meant to shave a grape or slice an apple. This is a knife that you go out and you pound on, right? I mean, this is going to be a blade that's great for light chopping and sort of heavy pressure cuts, right? Jamming the blade into stuff and do it. This knife is made to go to work, 100%. It is heavy, it is thick, but the reason I'm telling you this is if it was 1/4 inch thick, in my opinion, that would just be unnecessary thickness on this knife. It is so tall, it has so much room to drop down towards the cutting edge, right? I think that he really got this right. And I mean, basically forget about any worry that you might have with tip durability on this thing. Not only is it thick out to the tip, but look how much material. Can you imagine what it would take to snap a tip of K110 or essentially premium D2, that much material at that thick? I mean, no. I mean, I'm sure somebody could do it, right? I mean, if you you stuck just the tip of it out of a vise just a little bit and then you just started beating on it with a sledgehammer, even then it would probably still take way too much to break it. So essentially, this is, I'm not going to say it's indestructible, but boy, if I was ever going to give a knife a title close to the word indestructible, it would be this. This is unbelievable. The build quality of this is just insane, and the dimensions are insane. So it does come with a sheath that I really like, actually. I'll let you guys say, I'm not a sheath expert, but I'll tell you this. The knife fitting into the sheath is fantastic. There is no wiggle or play or any rattle or anything like that. They have that little slot right there so you can essentially tuck your thumb in there and just push and it comes right out. But retention is great. There's a little drainage hole right there, and then you can sort of just attach this to your belt. It's Velcro and a snap there, but very comfortable. Something that I could wear on my side. Now, it is heavy. Let's go ahead and weigh it here. So you guys know exactly how much this weighs. This is a beast of a knife. We are looking at essentially a knife that competes with the SE5, the Rat 5, the Becker BK2, knives that are all around this same length and weight. But yeah, this guy comes in at £1. So I think that's about the same as the SE5. There's a lot of material here, excess in height, not quite as thick as the SE5 being a quarter inch, but there's a lot of blade. These come in two different variants. They come in exactly what you're seeing here with this tumbling, which is exactly what I wanted. I love the tumbling on this. I think it's nice. It looks like polished concrete, right? Some the way that people do concrete, who like if they like it's like an indoor garage and they use like a premium polished concrete, right? That's what it makes me think of. Really, really nice. And they also have a black wash version for a little bit more money. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the anatomy of this. Let me talk about, oh, you know what we should do? Let's do the hardware check. I want to show that off. Get out my handy dandy WIA bit selector and WIA magnetic driver, 2 items that are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them down in that Amazon store. Just open up the link and look for the category that says knife maintenance. I'm pretty sure that these are at least T10. Sunk way in there. Nice big heads. Yeah, those are T10. There's 4 of them, and they go all the way into the steel tang. That's great. If for whatever reason you need to take the G10 scales off or you want to make your own, you got 4 T10 screws that are, unless you're doing something stupid, will be really easy to remove. And I mean, that's a nice thing about fixed blades in general, right? Most of them are real easy to take apart. I would never do that because I'll tell you this. This is the most comfortable fixed blade. This is the most comfortable bladed object that I have ever. I've had a lot of really comfortable ergonomic experiences, but let me show you guys these scales up close. These are G10 scales that have been so beautifully contoured, so seamless back here on the spine. It's just like holding a wad of perfectly formed. I mean, I've used this before. It's truly like these scales were perfectly formed to the palm of my hand. I mean this when I say, if I had no choice but to chop, dig, pry, cut, whatever with this knife all day, this is the most comfortable experience I could imagine. I don't know how much. The only thing that's going to wear me out with this knife is the weight. My arm will get tired before my hand gets uncomfortable on these scales. This is wonderful. There's plenty of room. You want to cock back on it a little bit so you can do some chopping. You want to hold up, close up here by the blade. There's no forward choil, but you can get nice and close to the blade. It's so comfortable depending on, where you want to rest your thumb, those notches there. I'm assuming that that's what that's for. I'm actually not 100% sure what those notches are for, but in any case, right, whether you're doing the reverse stuff or you're wanting to hold it upside down, it really doesn't matter. It's just a super comfortable blade. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. These knives are not made in the United States. They're made by, and I forget the name, I will try to include it in text form right there. But they are manufactured in Taiwan. Now, the other OEMs that Off-Grid Knives uses are Bestech and WE that I'm aware of. Carrie's pretty good about selecting OEMs that are really good with fit and finish, and Taiwan is known for pretty premium manufacturing. So as you can see here, they did a ridiculously excellent job with this knife. Everything on this knife is just done beautifully. The Becker BK2, if I'm not mistaken, uses FRN on the scales, and then they use, is it 1095? And it's, I don't know what they're priced at. I want to say they're close to this, but in any case, this is the way that this G10 is done. Can you see that up close? Just a little teeny tiny bit of texturing, but it's nice and smooth. But man, that purchase on this thing, it is absolutely made for the human hand. This is so comfortable. So comfortable. If I was going to chop into wood with this thing, or cut, bear down on it, I'd be comfortable here. Now, what's nice is we have a flat that carries out about 80%, about 80% the length of the blade, carrying a massive amount of thickness out here, right? But the taper starts so up high thanks to this sort of rise right here, or actually just how high this is ground. So there's a nice amount of drop down to the edge. Now, understand this. It's not a thin edge, right? It's not what I'd call a thin edge. It's an edge that is intentionally ground for hard work, right? The edge stability is emphasized not only by the composition of the steel, but by the grind, which, remember, is that convex grind. That ensures that the edge is way less likely to chip under the massive force of your cuts, which is likely considering where this knife is meant to be used. To me, this is a perfect camp knife. This is a perfect, outdoor work knife, and it's also what a lot of people would consider an apocalypse knife, because again, I don't think you can break this. I don't think you can. I think you'd have to chuck it on a landmine to get it to any sort of, real damage to it. It's just not something that I think is going to get damaged. Another thing that I appreciate is this area right here. This is very comfortable, and it ensures, no matter if I'm using my bare hands or gloves, that my fingers are not going to ride up on this blade. The tip is very material dense. Puncturing into things, both, in just terms of driving this much material into something, and also because of the thickness, it's going to drag a litlittle bit, but you can still do it, right? Thickness on the blade also, when you're cutting, the thicker the blade, right, the more drag you're going to get. But at the same time, if you swing this knife into something, the weight and mass of that blade, that full pound coming down, despite it being, shorter than a lot of blades that might be better at chopping, it's going to be able to do it. Now, I don't want to speak for Off-Grid Knives' warranty. I don't want to tell you guys what is and isn't covered, right? That's something that you should check out with them, or, better yet, email them if you want to get disclosure. But I guess in an extreme situation, if you had to baton with this knife, I don't think you're going to have any issues. But again, check their warranty. So really, really cool. I also appreciate that their logo is just faintly applied to the blade. They're not doing any excess billboarding. There's nothing on this side. Sorry about that, everybody. The video cut out there. Anyways, I really like how the logo looks. The transition down to the scales, the scales are thick, but that's to make use and sense of all the contouring, right? So this isn't a pocket knife. Remember, this is a fixed blade that is intentionally built to be thick, overbuilt, and beastly. That is on purpose. The beastly nature of this knife is on purpose. The nice thing is it seems to actually be, adding utility to the knife. There are elements of the SE5, which is much more expensive, by the way, elements of the SE5 that feel brutish for no reason. For example, the enormous amount of flat that carries out as far as it does on the SE5, it's an awesome blade, and probably also indestructible. Its edge feels a lot more like a hatchet to me that is thick beyond any sort of reasonable, and fixed blade experts will probably be able to contradict me and say, well, here's why it's like that. But I'm thinking in terms of what I would use this knife for in an extreme situation. I would rather the entire blade be taller, so I can make use of the mass of the blade, but then it tapers more quickly down to an edge that is still durable, but a little bit more capable of cutting than something as overly brutish as the SE5 or BK2, because neither of those blades are as tall. The Rat 5 is a different story. It's fully flat ground. While it is rough, it's close to the same thickness, 165 to 185 thousandths. It's fully flat ground, and I think comes down to an even thinner edge. But anyways, that's kind of what I'm saying there. Anyways, all the way back here, I took the lanyard off. It does come with a little orange lanyard. Plenty of room for you to add your own, which is probably a good idea, especially if you're going to be doing some chopping. That way you don't accidentally throw it into your foot or something. But yeah, back here, the jimping is absolutely functional. It is a little bit aggressive, but that's on purpose. You are absolutely going to be using this knife outside, unless you're somebody who likes to sit around on their couch and just hold a fixed blade, which I can't really judge you for, because that's kind of what I do with a lot of the folding knives that I don't use. So no judgment there. But in this position right here, this is very comfortable. It absolutely is going to catch your finger, right? If you're outside and you're just cutting and not putting your thumb up here, then you're never going to have to worry about wearing gloves. If you are going to be bearing down on it up here, I would absolutely recommend wearing gloves 100%, because that's going to tear you up just a little bit. But yeah, this knife all the way around is wonderful. And truthfully, this is one of my favorite fixed blades that I've ever handled. To me, the look of the blade and the height of the blade and just the mass of it, that's all wow factor to me. It's really, really cool. But the interesting thing about this knife is that nothing about it feels like unnecessary, okay, for example, I love Medford knives. And I love the Praetorian tie. In fact, I went out of my way to get one and spend way too much money on it, right? Love it. That knife has wow factor that I think is in excess of anything remotely utilitarian. Yes, it cuts. Yes, it folds. It can serve a purpose in specific situations, but I think it has a lot of excess, right? This knife has purposeful excess. This is not a knife that you would EDC in an office. Probably not a knife you would take to church or your kid's birthday party, right? But if you're gonna go out and you got your hammer, you got your pry bar, you got your hatchet, you got a whole bunch of tools that you are going to beat on and not think about. This is right at home with all that stuff. I mean, this is something that I'm just happy that I have it. I honestly am happy that this thing is in my house. Because if there's something that needs to be cut or chopped, you know, and I don't honestly, I mean, I've got a hatchet hammer. I don't know that I've got hatchets lying around, but this knife in a pinch can serve a bunch of different purposes and can be used as a bunch of different types of tools, as long as, of course, you're being responsible, not putting yourself in a situation where the blade's going to come flying up at you. But yeah, I'm really happy about that. What I'm also happy about is the price. This guy sits right in between where the BK2 is currently and the SE5 is at about $100. Now, prices change. Please check the links. If you're watching this in the future, prices have likely changed. Check the link down in the description so you can get accurate, up-to-date pricing. But these guys come in about $100, and then the Blackwatch counterpart comes in at about $110. I think that's very fair. I have no issues with that whatsoever, considering what this thing is capable of, how well it's made, you know, the attention to the design, the ergonomics, I mean, everything is just great. I'm so happy with this, and this is going to be one that I'm going to keep for myself. I really like this. Carrie, thanks so much for sending it to me, but I want this knife. I just want to have it. I'm really happy that it's here in my home with me and that I can actually go out and use it as a tool. So anyways, guys, I think that's going to be pretty much it for this review. This is a recommendable knife. It's going to go in my fixed blades playlist, and it's also going to go in my most recommended knives playlist, and it's also going to go in my favorite knives of all time playlist, because honestly, this is one of my favorite knives ever, which is great because it's a fixed blade, and I don't have a lot of those in terms of favorites. So anyways, thanks again to Off Grid Knives. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do of course have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on this Metal Complex logo right here and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.